I fixed these gears with small M3 bolts and nuts. Also there's a catching ring on here to prevent this shaft from shifting over. And it turns okay. I'll grease it later on. Time to continue. Next on the list is this sub-assembly. Consists of this main bracket, an idler disc and a bearing and a bolt. And I need 3 of those. The brackets are already on here. So I'll start with these idler discs. M8x40. Okay, first one. There's a small clamp ring in here, 3D printed. That was another full memory card. Okay, where was I? Press fitting the bearing into this chamber. Takes a bit of force. And this little clamp ring is supposed to go into here. Make a turn of a couple of degrees without breaking the fingernails. And of course the forces on here are really tiny. I don't expect this to ever come out. So next up, a bolt goes through the hole of the bracket. The clamp ring seems to clear the bracket itself. Not by much, but it's enough. Spacer, not. It's tight, so that's number 1. Number 2 and 3 go on exactly the same way. BRB. Meanwhile, I've finished with this sub-assembly. I've added the 2 threaded rods. They're part of the main tumbler frame. They connect these outer aluminium parts. They're the base of the entire frame. These 2 parts allow me to tilt the entire assembly to a certain angle of about 45 degrees. And that's the basic function of it. So just as a test, the idlers in the back seem to be working. The fit is very good, well enough anyway. Boom. To prevent scratching, I'm going to add these felt feet. I already added some to the plywood base. Next, and hopefully last, is the motor drive unit. It's all driven by a motor out of a small table fan. This is the actual motor. There's this button assembly out of that same table fan. It will be housed in this 3D printed bracket. To cool everything, I 3D printed this small fan. I already prepared the base plate with 2 aluminium profiles. So first I'm going to add some felt pads to the bottom of this assembly as well. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to start with the basic layout. As this bracket determines the position of the motor and everything else, I'll start with this one. I need this block 10 mm from this side. I'm already starting to make mistakes. This is not correct. That's good enough. Okay, so then the motor, and that one gets clamped down with this top clamping plate, also 3D printed. 2 screws will do for now. This isn't pre-drilled, this is pre-printed. Okay, next I need 2 more bearings, one at this end and one at this end. There's a clutch in here which doesn't help me any because I'm still not able to rotate this by hand. So if I want to turn this, I have to engage the clutch and turn the main shaft, and now this one turns very slowly. It is pre-drilled, it should fit. Should be long enough. Okay. And now I can just tilt the motor down So there's only a little bit of flex left. Now comes a tricky bit. I really should have designed this part with a slot rather than a hole, because what I have to do is first slide that shaft through here and then tilt the motor in. There goes my washer. And okay. For mounting this fan, I need access to it, but to take off this cap I have to disassemble the entire motor unit again. So to ease the access, okay. That looks wonderful. It's like I designed it. It needs to go to the back here. Run it under here. And I'll deal with that later. Okay. Go. Something like that. The cable now clears this rotating arm. Snippety snip. The cable is still in the way, as well as that small clip. Let's remove the cable tie. The second cable tie. Third time. Now it fits. That's nice. So this housing now slides all the way to the bottom to the plywood. So now I can mark the mounting holes. And I need it centered. So this looks about centered. So that's where I'm going to mark the front holes. So here. Now to permanently fix these blocks I'm going to use longer screws. These ones do appear to clear the bottom. Okay. Okay. Now for the motor. I'll fix it permanently later. My washer on here. Okay, and next up I think I'm going to mount this bad boy on here. I think I painted myself into a corner right here. Because wow, stuff like this still happens to me. I need access to the fan to fix it to the shaft, but I can only place this shroud when the fan is not on. And the only solution I can see is drill a hole right through here so I can get through with my screwdriver thingy. That was stupid. Okay. Wow, that almost looks printed. I prefer chamfering tool. So now I can fit this shroud. Second one. I think that's tight. It might crack, hopefully it doesn't. That's tight. That was a challenge. And now for this test. Hopefully it'll work. Still spin freely. I can see the bolt through this hole. That's the bolt. That's what we're aiming for. So apparently I drilled the hole too low, but it's a good thing that this fan can rotate. So that's as tight as I dare to go. Next up is this button assembly and the housing for it. But I'll have to connect it electrically first. I'll be back. So I found the pictures with the connections of these cables. Apparently this is the way they go together. I'm gonna do a spark test right now. Should everything turn dark, you know the reason. I'm gonna hold it with an isolated pair of pliers. Okay, in the off position. Let's plug it in, see if we can make some sparks. No sparks. Okay. I'll measure the RPMs later, but it does seem to cool the motor, and we have movement on the secondary shaft. This should spin as well, which it does. Unplug. The connections seem to be okay, so I can now mount this in this housing. Well then, this goes in like so. One nut goes in here. That one is okay. Second one. Okay. Security before obscurity, I always say. So this still is able to slip out of there. So I'm going to keep adding cable ties until it stays in. There. I think this will do the trick. And now this is very important. The location of this entire, whatchamacallit, is really up to me. So whatever feels right to me, a bit to the front. What is the front? Anyway, this is the front. So, would you look at that? I could have used that. Maybe I'll print another part to, yeah, which means I'll put this right near the front edge, like here. here, drill. Done. Nice. The final test. Nice. Okay, let's make room so I can assemble the entire thing, because now I'm getting anxious. For now I have dry fitted both constant velocity joints just for a test run. It's not on there very tight. I still need to apply glue to this little shaft and the inner parts. So if I start up the motor, you see that torque is transferred through this medium shaft to the main drive shaft over here. And both these constant velocity joints allow me to tilt the entire platform while maintaining rotation. So if I tilt the table back horizontally again, and that was the way it was supposed to work. So I'm pretty pleased. So now if I change the angle, the length of the shaft in this configuration is okay. It still has a bit of axial play. So let's try to turn some bottles now. And again, when I tilt the platform, the bottles keep spinning happily. I have to finish assembling this, which means clean this up a bit, fix it with some CA glue, and do a final assembly and apply grease. After that I'll be back. For now this project is done. Everything is in place. I've greased all the connections that need to be greased, like these constant velocity joints and those gears. Everything's been running smoothly now for a couple of days, for hours on end. I've noticed no heating of the motor, so everything seems to work. For now I'm done. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.